After 4 years of grinding, my startup finally secured the tech patent that would change everything. At the celebration dinner, someone got bold. "So, Leo, when are you and Scarlet finally tying the knot?" Scarlet just laughed, a dismissive, polished sound. "It's just a small tech company. I'm not planning on marrying him over it." A few days later, the Vance family of New York announced that I was the new heir to their corporate empire. Eventually, Scarlet Chin knelt before me, begging me to spare her. I looked down at her with a smirk. "Scarlet," I said, my voice dangerously soft. "Do you remember her? Every move, every decision, every single second of the last 5 years. It was all for revenge. 1-inch Leo, congratulations. With this patent, your company's IPO is a sure thing. You're about to become Austin's new tech king." I smiled, shaking hands and accepting congratulations from everyone at the launch party. 5 years of work, and my company, River Tech, had finally landed the patent. I was the city's new golden boy. The praise was flowing freely. Leo Vance is the whole package. A self-made success story, and he's got a beautiful, rich girlfriend. The guy has it all. I just smiled, letting the comment hang in the air. As the party was winding down, I got a text from my girlfriend, Scarlet Chun. "Congrats to my brilliant boyfriend on securing the patent. I've booked a table at Etoile to celebrate you tonight." I smiled and typed a single-word reply. "Perfect. I met Scarlet 5 years ago at an investor summit. My company was brand new and desperate for seed funding. Her family's company, Chin Industries, needed a tech firm to handle their R&D. Scarlet was there representing her family, with her long dark hair and a smile that could close any deal. It felt like an instant connection. She was receptive to my advances, flirtatious, but always maintaining a little distance that kept me wanting more. After a few dates, I was sure she was the one. So, I pursued her relentlessly. Soon enough, everyone knew we were a couple. That same year, River Tech signed an exclusive service contract with Chin Industries, solving one technical nightmare after another for them. Scarlett's influence within her family's company soared. All this time, she called me her lucky star and talked about marrying me. I'd always played along. Of course, nothing could ever pull us apart. By the time our company party ended, I was exhausted and ready to collapse. My assistant was grinning like an idiot. I shot him a tired look. "What are you so happy about?" He was more excited than I was. "I'm just happy for you, Leo. With this patent, you can finally marry Ms. Chun. Her family won't have any reason to look down on you anymore." I just smiled and changed the subject, telling him to make sure every employee got a generous bonus, especially the R&D team. They were getting big checks on top of their bonuses. Just then, my phone rang. It was Scarlet. "Leo, darling, is the party over?" Scarlet's voice was as smooth as ever. "It is. I'm on my way to you now. Wait for me." I got in my car and told the driver the address. Scarlet's voice took on a pouting tone. "I've already been waiting for an hour. My friends are getting impatient." I soothed her with a practiced calm, telling her traffic was bad and I'd be there as soon as I could. She was still annoyed, but she knew there was nothing she could do about it. "Okay, honey, just drive safe." The truth was, even with rush hour traffic, the drive was smoother than I expected. I was at the restaurant in no time. I pulled out my phone to text her, but then decided to surprise her instead. Etoile was Austin's most extravagant French restaurant, all dim lighting and hushed elegance. As I approached her private room, I could hear Scarlet chatting with her friends. I was about to walk in when their words stopped me cold. "Scarlet, that patent Leo just got is huge. Half the tech world wants it. Chin Industries is definitely getting it, right?" "Of course. Leo and I already have an agreement. He's giving us exclusive use, free of charge." Then another friend asked in a sly tone, "So, Scarlet, are we going to hear wedding bells soon? I mean, a guy as brilliant as Leo? You need to lock that down." The room fell completely silent. The hand I had on the door froze. After a long moment, Scarlet's voice, dripping with disdain, cut through the quiet. "He's got a little talent, I guess. But honestly, a small-time tech company, that's not good enough for the Chin family. I'm just using him." She let out a little laugh. "Don't tell anyone, but I'm planning to break up with him as soon as the patent license is signed over." The room erupted in a chorus of sycophantic giggles from her friends. "Scarlet, you're ruthless, turning down a guy like Leo Vance." "I know, right? But he is gorgeous." I leaned against the doorframe, a cold, bitter smile spreading across my face. 5 years of my life for years of dating, and it all came down to one phrase. I'm just using him. The tech I developed had generated at least $100 million in profit for Chin Industries. And now, behind my back, this is how she talked about me. She put a price tag on our entire relationship without a second thought. People are treacherous. But then again, I should have known who she was from the very beginning. I didn't hesitate anymore. I pushed the door open and walked in. Scarlet and her friend stared at me, their faces a mixture of shock and panic. I fixed my gaze on Scarlet. It was so intense that she had to look away. I let out a low, humorless chuckle. Thank you, Ms. Chun, for throwing this little party for me. And thanks to all of you for coming. The warm, loving look I usually gave her was gone, replaced by something cold and calculating. Her friends, who were just laughing at my expense, now didn't dare make a peep. They just smiled weakly, trying to pretend nothing had happened. Megan Lynn, Scarlett's best friend and someone I knew fairly well, stood up and tried to guide me to the seat next to Scarlet. Leo, you should have told us you were here. We would have rolled out the red carpet. You're the man of the hour, Austin's new tech mogul. Your future is limitless. Megan's family was also in tech, so she, more than anyone, understood the value of my patent. She was trying to smooth things over for Scarlet. Leo, Scarlet was just joking around with us. You two are a match made in heaven. You'd never break up. She nudged Scarlet. Tell him, we were just being stupid. It was a bad joke, but I knew Scarlet too well. What I had just heard wasn't a joke. It was the unvarnished truth she'd been hiding for 4 years. I gently pushed Megan's hand away and looked directly at Scarlet. I asked, enunciating every word, Scarlet, are you sure that was a joke? Scarlet stared back at me, her expression a mix of anger at being caught and annoyance that I was making a scene. She slowly rose to her feet, her face a mask of displeasure. I met her gaze, the fake smile I had been wearing finally vanishing from my lips. After a long, tense moment, she managed to conjure her dazzling smile again, but her words were ice. Leo, don't forget, your company is only where it is today because of the support from Chin Industries. Without me, you'd still be out there handing out flyers. I almost laughed out loud. The nerve of this woman was unbelievable. From day one, it was Chin Industries that had been taking advantage of my small company. River Tech had grown because I paid top dollar to recruit the best engineers in the field, and because of the silent backing of the Vance family in New York. What had Scarlet Chin ever done? She benevolently accepted exclusive licenses for my patents at rates far below market value. To save her pride, I'd even let her slide on payments for contracts we'd signed. The accounting department had been complaining about it for years, and now she had the audacity to claim she was the reason for my success. She must have seen the mockery in my eyes, because her expression soured. Still, she stood there, radiating arrogance. She was about to say something else, but I held up a hand to stop her. Megan looked exasperated. Come on, you guys. Don't fight like this in public. Scarlett's eyes were filled with a cold resentment. Leo, I'll admit, after 4 years, I do have some feelings for you. But everything I said is true. The CEO of a small-time tech firm isn't worthy of marrying me. I suggest you don't push this too far. You don't want the Chun family to blacklist you. Truly delusional. I'd love to see your family try to blacklist me. Fine, I said. I'll be waiting. Scarlet, we're done. Without another look at her, I turned and walked out. Her voice, shrill with fury, followed me. Leo, you will regret this. I didn't bother to respond. We'd see who regretted what. A woman with an ego like Scarlet Chin's wasn't going to take being dumped publicly lying down. The revenge was swift. That same night, the call started coming in. Leo, we found some issues with your product. We've decided to terminate our partnership. Sorry, your company's latest developments don't meet our current needs. Maybe we can work together again in the future. The employees who had just been celebrating were now walking around like ghosts. In Austin, if you crossed the Chun family, you were finished. It was that simple. I was probably the only calm person in the entire office. My phone rang. It was my father. Son, that's a hell of a patent. Do you need Vance Corp to put out a press release for you? My old man was a man of few words, but he cared. His tone told me he already knew everything that had happened. I smiled. Don't worry, Dad. The patent is mine, which means it belongs to Vance Corp. It's time to merge River Tech into the parent company anyway. There was a stunned silence on the other end of the line, followed by a rush of excitement. You've finally come to your senses? It's long overdue. Once everything is settled here, I'm coming home. After I hung up, I saw my assistant, drenched in sweat, desperately trying to reason with a client on the phone. I walked over and put a hand on his shoulder. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. He slammed the phone down, his face flushed with anger and his eyes red. Mr. Vance, the Chins are absolute scum. They're actively telling clients not to work with us. They just try to lowball us for the patent. I had to laugh. Classic Chun family tactics. But with my father's backing, it was all just noise. Besides, I would let that patent rot in a vault before I'd ever sell it to Chin Industries. The R&D team had worked around the clock for 6 months on it. We'd invested millions in manpower and resources. Its market potential was in the billions. My father moved fast. Before my team could even draft a press release, Vance Corporation in New York made its move. At a press conference, the Vance Corp spokesperson spoke glowingly about Rivertech's new patent. Vance Corporation has thoroughly reviewed this technology and sees immense investment value. It has the potential to lead the next wave of technological development. The board has decided to fully acquire Rivertech and integrate its operations, beginning a new era of deep cooperation. The news hit the wire, and suddenly my phone was ringing off the hook. The same partners who had just backed out were now begging for a second chance. They'd made a terrible mistake, a misunderstanding. Business is business. I wasn't going to turn away their money. The Chin family was furious about the betrayal from their local allies, but there was nothing they could do. The next morning, I got a text from my father's assistant. It explained everything. Scarlet had dumped me because she'd already lined up my replacement, Jared Kane, heir to the Kane Holdings empire in New York. For years, Chin Industries had been stagnating until Rivertech support propelled them forward. To reach the next level, they needed more than just technology. They needed a massive capital injection. Kane Holdings was the perfect target. In Scarlet's eyes, my patent was valuable, but compared to an alliance with the Kanes, it was nothing. Besides, she already had a contract guaranteeing Chun Industries' usage rights at a price far below market value. She thought she had it all figured out. I looked at the text and sneered. I wondered what her face would look like when she found out that the company backing Rivertech all along was Vance Corporation, an empire every bit as powerful as Kane Holdings. 3 days later, I was back in New York, sitting across from my father, sipping whiskey. 5 years ago, when I told him I wanted to start my own company, he nearly broke my leg. He swore he wouldn't give me a single dollar. But maybe a head for business is just in the Vance DNA. I locked myself in my study for 3 days. When I emerged, eyes bloodshot, I had a complete business plan in my hands. My father finally relented. It's been so many years, and you still can't let it go. Fine, I won't stop you. Go do what you feel you have to do. I nodded. What happened to her was wrong. Since her family won't fight for her, I will. He was silent, but he gave his tacit approval. The condition was that I only had 5 years. If I could figure out in 5 years, the family would provide quiet support. If not, I had to give up and come home to take over the family business. I moved 1,000 miles away to Austin to build my company, but the real reason was to investigate what happened. Autumn White was my childhood sweetheart. We'd been in the same schools from kindergarten through college. She finally agreed to be my girlfriend our sophomore year. But her family was modest, not up to the Vance family standards. My parents let it slide while we were in school, but after graduation, they forced us to break up. I fought them, but I loved her too much to subject her to their disapproval forever. Heartbroken, Autumn moved to Austin to start her own business. I knew she was trying to build something for herself, to become someone my family couldn't reject. She refused my help, determined to make it on her own. It was that fierce independence that I admired most about her. 6 years ago, while I was busy fending off a series of arranged dates, I got the call. She had died in a car accident. It was so sudden, so clean. The official investigation ruled it an accident, but I knew it wasn't. Just days before, she had called me. Leo, I'm in trouble with the company. It's hard, but don't worry, I'm not giving up. Just wait for me. Now the fish was on the hook. It was time for me to return to my world and wait for the final act. My father had aged. 5 years ago, he was the indomitable head of Vance Corp. Now, his hair was streaked with gray. He didn't object to my plans. He just told me that from now on, the family business was mine to command. After leaving the family estate, I met up with my assistant. I'd recruited him right after founding River Tech, and he was sharp. He looked at me, completely bewildered. Leo, what are we doing in New York? Didn't we already sign the merger agreement with Vance Corp? Is there a problem? I smiled at the man who had been by my side for 5 years. My last name is Vance. I'm in New York to inherit the family business. The look on his face was priceless. He was a good man, capable and loyal. I planned to make him my chief of staff at the main corporation. Bringing him to New York was my way of offering him a choice. He just stood there, stunned, until he finally managed to stammer, "I thought River Tech was a big deal. I never thought I'd end up working at Vance Corporation." The merger went smoothly. The day after, River Tech officially announced it was now a subsidiary of Vance Corporation. The news sent a shock wave through the industry, and the partnership offers flooded in. Even Scarlet called. I almost didn't answer, but I remembered there were still scores to settle. I picked up. "Leo, are you insane? If you were going to sell the company, you should have sold it to us." Her voice was shrill, on the verge of hysteria. She'd clearly seen the press releases, but had naively assumed it was just an investment, not a full acquisition. "Don't you forget that you already licensed the patent to Chin Industries." "I'm aware," I said calmly. "Do you have any idea how much damage you'll cause by breaching our contract? Can you afford to pay it?" she shrieked. "Leo, I'm giving you 2 choices. Either honor our agreement and transfer the patent license to us immediately, or we'll sue you into oblivion. Your call." It seemed I had spoiled her rotten over the years. She actually thought she held all the cards. I couldn't help but laugh. "Ms. Chun, after the merger, River Tech will honor all its existing contracts. However, due to Chun Industries' consistent contract fraud, we're already preparing a lawsuit of our own. You should be receiving a summons from our legal team in a few days." Over the past 4 years, her company had shorted us at least $50 million in payments. On top of that, they were still using dozens of expired licenses without renewing them. The reason was always the same. Scarlet would play the girlfriend card, promising me marriage and a future together. She must have thought I was some lovesick fool, completely under her spell. I had laid this trap for years. It would be a shame not to let her suffer in it. Our legal department had all the evidence ready to go. With the merger complete, it was time for me to step back onto the New York stage. The Vance family was a pillar of the city's elite. To mark my return, they hosted a grand gala. Invitations were the hottest ticket in town. Everyone wanted to get close to the new heir of Vance Corp. I hadn't been a part of this world for 5 years, and it felt strange to be back. Shaking off the feeling, I walked toward the ballroom with my assistant. And, as fate would have it, we ran right into Scarlet Chun and Jared Kane at the entrance. Scarlet's face was a thundercloud. Her eyes burned with hatred. "What is this? Does the Vance family let just anyone into their parties now? You sell your little company to kiss up to them, and now you think you're one of them? Don't think for a second that just because your last name is Vance, you actually belong here." I just rubbed my nose. I wondered where she got her bottomless confidence. Honestly, it wasn't even worth a comeback. I started to walk past her, but she wasn't done. "Security! This man doesn't belong here. He's going to cause a scene." A staff member, looking confused but professional, stepped in front of me. "Sir, may I please see your invitation?" This was ridiculous. Did I really need an invitation to my own welcome home party? The thing was, I didn't actually have one. Seeing me hesitate, Scarlet's sharp voice cut in again. "What's wrong, Leo? You just latched onto the Vance family. Can't even get an invitation? Did they use you up and throw you out like trash? TSK, TSK? See, I told you dumping you was the right move." The staffer's polite expression was firm. "I'm sorry, sir. No one is allowed inside without an invitation." Scarlet looked triumphant as she looped her arm through Jared Kane's and swept into the ballroom. Jared just gave me a small, unreadable smile. I shrugged and pulled out my phone to call my father's assistant. The person on the other end was speechless when I told them the new heir to Vance Corp was being blocked at the door. Inside, I immediately spotted a few old friends I hadn't seen in years. I walked over to say hello, but before we could even catch up, Scarlet's grating voice sounded from behind me. "Leo, you're just pathetic. I told you we were over. Did you really think following me here would make me take you back? Seriously, what made this woman so sure of herself? Her dazzling personality." I turned, a playful smirk on my face. "Sorry, Ms. Chun. I only date human beings." That did it. Her carefully constructed composure shattered. Leo, you are a disgusting piece of trash. How did you even get in here? My friends just watched her, looking at her like she was a clown at the circus. No one knew who this crazy woman was, but they were enjoying the show. One of my friends finally had enough. I don't know what backwater town you crawled out of, lady, but crashing a Vance party to find a sugar daddy is a bold move. You should read fewer trashy novels. Nobody here is interested. The comment made Scarlet's face turn white with rage. As the pampered daughter of the Chun family, she'd never been insulted like that in her life. But she had to swallow it. She recognized the man who spoke, a well-known playboy from a powerful New York family she couldn't afford to cross. Just then, my assistant walked up, frowning. Mr. Vance, it's almost time. We should get you backstage. I nodded and followed him, leaving Scarlet fuming. I just smiled to myself without saying another word. Soon, the main event began. My father stood on the stage, addressing the crowd. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here tonight. Today is a special day for my family, as my son officially returns to Vance Corporation. I won't waste any more of your time. Please join me in welcoming my son, Leo Vance. I walked onto the stage, my expression perfectly calm. I glanced over at Scarlet. Her face was ashen. Thank you all for coming, I began. I'm new to the family business, so I hope you'll all bear with me as I learn the ropes. By the time the gala was over, I was exhausted. As I walked through the hotel lobby, I saw Scarlet waiting for me alone. I raised an eyebrow. Couldn't take the heat anymore? She looked at me with a desperate, pleading expression that was terrifyingly out of character. Leo, I was wrong, but you never told me you were part of that Vance family. I gave a sarcastic smile. My last name is Vance. Who else would I be? She was speechless, and she had no one to blame but herself. She was either an idiot or just too arrogant to do a simple background check on the man she'd been sleeping with for 4 years. She was so used to being the most important person in the room that she never bothered to look closely at anyone else. I looked at her, my expression pure amusement. Ms. Chun, if there's nothing else, I should be going. We wouldn't want to make Mr. Kane upset. I gestured behind her. She turned and saw Jared Kane standing a short distance away, his face as dark as a storm cloud. She gave a nervous laugh. Before she could say another word, I walked away with my assistant. Over the next few days, Scarlet relentlessly called and texted. She even started engineering accidental run-ins. I was so fed up I tore into my assistant. What is your problem? Why hasn't the lawsuit been filed yet? He looked miserable but took the verbal lashing. The chewing out worked. Soon after, the case of River Tech v. Chun Industries for copyright infringement and non-payment went to court. With a mountain of evidence and the undefeated Vance Corp legal team, the outcome was never in doubt. For the $50 million in unpaid fees and over 30 instances of using expired licenses, the court ordered Chun Industries to pay $300 million in damages and penalties. $300 million might not bankrupt a company the size of Chun Industries, but it was all liquid cash. The verdict plunged them into a severe financial crisis. During that time, Scarlet begged to see me. After some thought, I agreed. This time, she seemed immune to my sarcasm, her desperation overriding her pride. She forced a smile. Leo, please, for the sake of what we once had, let this go. Spare my family's company. I had no interest in playing games with her anymore. I had everything I needed. All that was left was the revenge. I walked behind her and gave a light kick to the back of her knee, forcing her to the ground. It was better if she spoke to me from there. I bent down and patted her cheek. Miss Chun, I don't have time to reminisce about our imaginary past. I want that money in Rivertech's account. Otherwise, we'll file for forced asset seizure. Think of how embarrassing that will be for the Chun family. I don't care how you get it. I added, you have 1 month. She left, completely defeated. Tim, my assistant, later told me that Chun Industries had finally swallowed its pride and gone to Kane Holdings for a bailout, accepting brutally harsh terms that IT made sense. Scarlet was still Jared Kane's girlfriend. After all, why not leverage that connection? Seeing that I was in a good mood, my assistant voiced his concern. Mr. Vance, aren't you worried that Kane Holdings will fully side with the Chins? They're still a formidable company. And for what I hear, he added, Mr. Kane seems quite taken with Scarlet. I burst out laughing. After a moment, I replied wryly, then let's hope for her sake that Jared Kane is a sentimental fool who puts love before business. My assistant shook his head. He clearly didn't believe it for a second. I didn't bother to explain. In the weeks that followed, Vance Corp relentlessly squeezed Chun Industries from every angle. They became more and more dependent on Kane Holdings. With Vance Corp breathing down their necks, Scarlet clung to Jared like a lifeline. I heard she was at his beck and call, completely submissive. That didn't sound like the Scarlet Chun I knew at all. I picked up my phone and sent a short text. The time is right. 11 I'd been busy with the transition at Vance Corp and hadn't heard anything about Scarlet for a while. Then the news broke online. Kane Holdings had completed a full, hostile takeover of Chun Industries. I couldn't miss this. I found some time to pay Scarlet a visit. The once proud heiress was now living with her entire family in a cramped rental apartment. They looked miserable. I was satisfied. I smiled at her. "Scarlet, how did you manage to lose your entire family company?" She immediately dropped to her knees, her eyes wide with terror. Good. At least this time, I didn't have to kick her. She was learning. "Leo, you have to help me. Jared is a monster. He used the loan to get a seat on the board, and in less than a month, he took complete control. I have nothing left." I shrugged, my voice dripping with schadenfreude. "And you're just figuring this out now? You made a deal with a shark and expected what a hug. Who is Jared Kane? Why would he ever be interested in you? What made you think you were worthy of marrying into the Kane family? Scarlet, this all happened because you are incredibly stupid." She broke down completely, sobbing and pleading. "What am I going to do? My family is millions of dollars in debt. Leo, please help me. I'll do anything." I chewed on my lip, pretending to think. "Look, there's not much I can do, but I could talk to Jared for you. No guarantees, though." She crawled forward and grabbed onto my leg. "Leo, thank you. I'll be your slave for the rest of my life. I swear. To truly destroy someone, you must first give them hope, then slowly crush it in front of their eyes." Jared, as a favor to me, agreed to forgive all of Scarlet's personal debts. But there was one condition. For the next 3 years, she had to do whatever he said, no questions asked. Scarlet had no choice. She agreed immediately. She probably imagined a life as a pampered mistress. That day, after a month of gray skies, the sun finally broke through the clouds over the city. Jared Kane came to my penthouse that evening. I poured 2 glasses of bourbon, and we sat in silence for a moment. "Is she on her way?" I asked. Jared nodded, staring out the window. "Left this morning. She should be there by now. Do you want to see?" After a moment's hesitation, I nodded. He made a video call. On the other end, Scarlet's face was a mask of sheer terror. "What are you doing? Let me go. Jared, Leo, please let me go." I ignored her screaming and said coldly, "You reap what you sow, Scarlet. You have to pay for what you did." She was hysterical, unable to comprehend why this was happening. She knelt on the dirty floor, shrieking, "Leo, is this because I broke up with you, because I used Rivertech? Is that why you hate me so much?" I watched her without a flicker of pity. After a long silence, I finally spoke. "Do you remember Autumn White?" In an instant, all the color drained from her face. "Autumn White? What does she have to do with you?" I was done playing games. She was my girlfriend, and she was Jared's cousin. Scarlet froze, then began to struggle like a wild animal. "I didn't know. She never said anything. I didn't kill her. It wasn't me." Seeing that she understood, Jared waved his hand, and the man on the other end cut the feed. I turned to Jared. "Knowing you, you won't let her off that easy." He nodded, lighting a cigarette. "I've made arrangements with some contacts in Mexico. She'll spend the next 3 years atoning for her sins in a cartel labor camp. After that, she can go apologize to Autumn in person." I was satisfied with that answer. Just killing her would have been too quick, too merciful. Jared looked at me, about to say something. I knew what he was going to ask, and stopped him. I pointed to the television. The local Austin news was on. Early this morning, a fire broke out in our city. The rental home of the former prominent Chun family was completely destroyed. There were no survivors. According to investigators, the cause of the fire was faulty, aging wiring. We both raised our glasses and clinked them together. Nothing more needed to be said. The next morning, I went to the cemetery. To my surprise, my father was already there, standing in front of Autumn's headstone, lost in thought. I placed the flowers I brought down, my eyes fixed on her smiling face in the photograph. A wave of grief washed over me. My father spoke, his voice low. Do you still blame me for what happened? I looked down, saying nothing. I had loved Autumn White with everything I had. When my family forced us apart, I hated them. 6 years ago, when I learned of her death, I almost lost my mind. There was no hard evidence, but whispers and rumors all pointed to the Chun family in Austin. But Autumn's family was modest. The Vances were unwilling to start a war with another powerful family over circumstantial evidence. And while the Canes were also a major dynasty, Autumn was a distant cousin. They weren't going to risk their empire for her, either. Only Jared, who had grown up with Autumn and loved her like a sister, was willing to fight. But the two of us alone were no match for the Chens. My move to Austin was a calculated infiltration. At the time, neither the Vance nor the Kane family offered much help. The Chens had covered their tracks well. It wasn't until last year that I found my first real lead. On one of Scarlet's old, discarded laptops, I found a picture of her and Autumn. In the photo, they were holding hands, looking like the best of friends. I can't describe the feeling. The thrill of a breakthrough mixed with a profound sadness for Autumn's terrible judgment. It nearly tore me apart. It took me another year to piece together the whole story. After Autumn founded her company in Austin, she met Scarlet by chance. They quickly became inseparable. Autumn was a brilliant software developer, and her first few products were a huge success. Scarlet wanted to buy the intellectual property, but her offer was insultingly low. Autumn, who was still dreaming of building an empire so she could finally be with me, refused. On the surface, they remained friends. Behind the scenes, Scarlet began to plot against her. She found her weak spot. She bribed Autumn's business partner to sell the software to Chun Industries for a fraction of its worth. To make sure the secret never came out, she arranged the car accident. As I finally said all this out loud, a strange calm settled over me. My father was silent for a long time. Finally, he sighed. It was my fault. I never should have forced you two apart. I hope that child can find it in her heart to forgive me. I nodded, a lump forming in my throat. She will, Dad. I paused for a moment, then added, my assistant. He works for you, doesn't he? Thank you, Dad. I had suspected it for a while. There was no way Jared and I, two young men driven by grief, could have outmaneuvered the old foxes at Chun Industries on our own. We made mistakes, plenty of them, but my assistant was always there to subtly correct our course. Once or twice could be a coincidence, but after a while, I knew someone else was pulling the strings. 3 years later, Jared called. He didn't say anything when I answered. I understood. Scarlet Chun had finished atoning for her sins. She had gone to give Autumn her apology in person.